off the lift. A proud moment, a big moment. We're outside the garage. We're on our wheels. We're on the ground level. It steers. It rolls. It stops. Still got to make the motor work. We got to get the motor working, but that'll come. That's the motor actually I took off of the Austin 7, so I know it works. I just got to get it running. The American Underslung Speedster. They made them from 1909 to 1913, I believe. Had a picture of one that was from 1910, so I call this one a 1910 model. That was the particular one I used as inspiration. It came out dang perfect. You know, I didn't share a lot of my drawings on this, but I used them as reference. I used the inspiration car, really dissected it, and I couldn't be happier. I wanted to catch that Art Deco, you know, real rich color, the big presence, and I hope I got it. I hope I got it. We got blood red on the paint there. This yellow anodizing, I like the way it made this aluminum look brass on the back, but I didn't like it on the front pieces. So I used gold. That's gold, and it looks brass. So I think I'm going to end up doing the gold back here to make it match. Just to make it match. All right. So enough of a little walk around. Let's see if I can put together a video of this thing getting put together. How about that? All right, let's see how quick of a video I could make and bring you up to speed on where I'm at on this Edwardian build here. This Edwardian Cyclekart build. I ordered the 18-inch wheels, still waiting on them. Don't have them from Thailand yet. They're the ones Kelly Wood and Steve Vinson talked about and shared information on the Cyclekart forum and on Cyclekart North America page. But I did get these, what are they, 275 18s. Pretty good looking rubber. Good historic looking, vintage looking rubber. So with the tire, I got the size of my wheels. So I got some fake wheels cut for mock-up. I got them 36 inches inside to inside. So hopefully I'll end up with a 40-inch track and not be too wide. Kind of looks a little wide, actually. 31 inches on the inside to inside of my seat clamps right there. Not seat clamps. Spindle brackets. There we go, spindle brackets. I played around with my frame width. I was going to go 18 inches in the front and 24 in the back, which is a little bit bigger than most people will run a little small Cyclekart. You can get these things like 16 in the front and 20 in the back, and most people can still fit inside them. But this one is a big car. I wanted it to be big. It's an Edwardian, so kind of its size is a thing. 72-inch wheelbase, which is really long wheelbase. You know, if you're building a regular Cyclekart, aim for like 64, 66. Shorter is cuter. Cuter is better in a Cyclekart. Remember, it's a caricature. But this thing's going to be a little bit of a monstrosity, so I wanted it to be big. So those were my starting points. I ended up with I'm 20 inches, and I didn't like the tapered look of the frame, so I've did a couple mock-up cross members, and I'm at 20 inches outside right now on what you're looking at now. Did I say it's underslung? Of course it's underslung. The American, right? So the American had this cool looking front. The front end looked like this. So we want that front end in there and play in with, you know, I got the ride height where I wanted it. I think I'm at 6 inches right now. Of course, it'll depress in the front. 5.5 in the back and 6 in the front is what it's mocked up on my floor right now. Got a level on there, trying to make sure things are level. Nothing is welded in this frame, by the way, other than the front piece right there, the brackets for the rear of those springs, they are not even on there yet. So we want that mustache cool front end, and making, you know, front axles, or trying to figure out a front axle. I have a tube bender over there, but I wanted to make this one without the tube bender. And as I started looking at the inspiration car and figuring out, you know, a kind of how I wanted it to, it being the axle to look, you know, the tube bender really wouldn't be great for this, because the bend radius is such that it would be difficult to get these in the right locations. So all I did was kerf cut. I just kerfed out a couple pie pieces. I did do a couple practice pieces over there to you know, eyeball it and get what I wanted to be right. And so, you know, after I got what looked to be right, I marked up a chunk of this 1x1, and it's pretty thick wall stuff, by the way. This is not what you get from Home Depot. You get this from your local supply store, and it is 120 wall. It's pretty heavy duty. It's pretty heavy junk. So, and then if you're worried about that being too weak, you could put flat stock on it, and then it makes it look like an I-beam if you put the flat stock on the top and bottom. I actually did a video. I did an axle for a buddy of mine like that, and it really makes it heavy duty. And I mean, and it looks kind of cool too. Actually looks really cool. So that's probably what we're going to do on this one. I use a piece of angle iron here as my straight edge, so I keep the thing straight. And I'm going to have, you know, sometimes these have a bend on the end where they meet the spindle bracket. This one's not. It's going to go plumb straight into it. And then I got to do this fancy looking gusset piece like the inspiration car to the top of the spindle. And I'm not sure what spindles I have. I have some of Mark Parnell's fancy ones from an earlier project. I just didn't use them. But then I also got some Azusa's, so I'm not exactly sure which spindles I'm going to use just yet, but we're working on it. All right, let's see if I can do a little bit of work here, and then come back and have it sitting on these things. Well, okay, so I got a little carried away. Obviously, I got the flat stock on the top and bottom, booger welded on the back, just spotted on there. Go back and clean that up. I'm trying I don't want to do too many welds on the front. Could have used wider flat stock to make it more pronounced, give you more of that I-beam effect, but it ain't bad. I wish it was a little bit better, but I think once I get it painted, you'll see it'll have that I-beam look going on real good there. And then getting the height right for those things, I could raise the whole thing up, but then it would have some crazy rake. So I made some little spacers in there for now. I'm not super pleased. I don't know. There's only a minute of this. I worked on this for an evening here after work. I'm gonna work a little bit more. Let's see what I could do. You know how it is. You get to working and you forget the camera. So yeah, what we have here is my little bottom bracket. I've got that one already kind of put on. So that spacer, that one by, I've got a bolt that I turned the head on it. And by turn the head down, what I mean is I chucked it up in my drill in one hand and spun it, and then my other hand I hit the flap disc on it to get it to a nice contour. Underneath here is a hole I drilled, or a recess. It's a countersunk hole to fit that. So this goes on top of it, and it's got to move around to find it. And of course, I won't be able to do it one hand or get it right when I'm on camera, but it does fit in there. I just got to won't sit on there unless I mess with it with both my hands. You know, there's some play in this this right here. So that little pin goes all the way through to the bottom, and then in that hole for right there, and it keeps all this junk in line. And stole that trick from Mark Parnell Mark probably used that trick because it's what smart people do with leaf spring suspensions, and it's probably a centering pin that's been on other leaf spring stuff now that I think about it. But Mark does it, so if he does it, you should do it, and I'm doing it. So there you go. My angle for my my shackles, I'm gonna try to get it 6.5 degrees. Both of them were perfectly 5.5. So I put the center of this in the vise, and then I grabbed the end of it, not the bracket, but the end of this with a giant pipe wrench, and I torqued it back and gave it a couple of degrees, and then eyeballed it till it was about right. So I still got to run the bubble level on it and see where I'm at, but I think it's probably closer to 9 or 10 degrees. All right, let me do some of that. Proof that I really don't know what I'm doing. It is now 5 inches ride height. I thought I had it for 5.5 or 6. Now, it was a couple days ago in my head, but if I put all these videos together, probably in the video 3 minutes ago I said what it was. I didn't write it down, so I don't know. Alright, so the back wheels are still screwed into a support board holding them up. The front wheels, I took the support board off and just got them in F-clamps, and I got them on the spindles, so they're actually there. So the weight of the thing is actually on the suspension. Interestingly, the cross members are not welded in. It's just a stick. Yeah, it's another stick back there with a ratchet strap holding it tight. But right now, I could take the ratchet strap off because the front suspension is holding it together. One fix I had to do is I freaking tightened down the U-bolt too much, and I crushed one of the supports, and I crushed the tube. So I had to put it back up on the vise and beat on it, get it back into shape. So I was like, all right, don't put the impact on it and run it till it's crazy. Still got to clean up the nuts down, or the bolts rather. Put some hardware on the back side of those little bolts holding the bracket on top of the leaf spring. I have some leaf spring helpers, not helpers, but extra bars out of leaves. If this is too much bounce, it's got a little bit of, it's got some bounce to it. I don't know if you can see right there, but it's got some give, maybe a bit much. I don't know. So bracket's got to get cleaned up a little bit better, and then I got to do my cool gusset support right there. And what? Oh shoot! I didn't run the bubble level yet. Hang on. Yeah, there you are. It is. There you are. It is 7 degrees. Both of them. How did I get them both perfect like that? I don't know. That is definitely a lot of luck. Normally I'm off as much as half a degree, and I go back and I tweak with it a little bit to try to get it closer. But bang on 7. I will take it. Now, if you're going really, really fast in these things, you probably want more than 7. But the problem is, then the wheel gets floppy, like flops like a motorcycle, like if you have a chopper on the front wheel at low speed. Yeah, so your low speed, it's got this weird flop to it. So there's definitely a sweet spot. I think it's 7 degrees, 6 degrees, 7 degrees for these wheels and tires. I'm sure someone else has a different opinion, but it works good for me. Okay, what's next? Get the back there, get some cross members in there. Obviously skipped a few videos. Sorry. But this is where we're at. It's still an Edwardian. I don't remember. The last video I took for this thing was so long ago. My intent is piecing these all together. Hopefully that's what you're watching, is all these pieced together. Maybe I put some pictures in there. Didn't really do a good job of documenting this one. But it is a 1910 American Underslung Speedster. Chassis black. Underslung right here. Working pretty good. Right now we're figuring out the body, the bend to Williger technique. I do the dash support where I would need it to be. I started with a piece of MDF. I get the MDF cut to the shape, height, radius, corners that I like. I get it put where I want, where I like it, and then I make a steel. This one happens to be 1 inch wide, 1/20, 1/8 inch thick flat stock. A little wibbly wobbly, but once you stick in a 1 inch square tube cross member for your dash support and these kickers, it works pretty good. I had to play with my kickers a little bit and lengthen one, and well, that looks ugly, but it's just the self tappers. These are just temporarily in right here. Do my main hoop and then my secondary hoop. This is where the hood will rest, and it starts to be smaller. This particular vehicle, kind of like the Blitz and Benz, just slowly gets naturally smaller to the grill. The vehicle I'm making a caricature of, there were versions of them where this was more pronounced, but the Speedster didn't have fenders or anything like that. It was gradual. So this one's going to be gradual. So that hoop, which I happen to make out of 2 inch wide, 1/8 inch thick, 1/8 inch, I can't talk, 120, whatever you want to call it, thick aluminum. You just make it just a little bit smaller than that one. It's a whole lot of bending in the vise and bending around your knee and bending, putting it back, take it bends out, take it back, it's in and out. So the first one gets made pretty easy, and then the rest of them, man, they take you might spend an hour bending these things, getting it just right. You really, really want to take your time and get that curve nice and smooth, and no flat spots. And I think actually now that I look at it, there's a little bit of a flat spot. So I may even go back. I may work out one just a little bit more. But you take your time. Get that one right, because once you put sheet metal on it, you will definitely notice it if you don't get that bend right. And it doesn't take super talent or tools. It just takes time. I literally just beat on it in a hammer and a vise. And I'm sure there's an easier way and somebody knows it, but I don't. It's just time. And that's what I do. Okay, and then these are guides. I just have these down. Oh, it's not even clamped on right. So these are just guides to let me know where the sheet metal is going to go, and I want to make sure I like it. I want to make sure that I like the profile and I like what's going on. And I want to make sure that it matches the inspiration car, which I don't have here. And you can see it's hanging. The weight of it's hanging right there. So I actually might make it a little bit taller than that. And then my front support, my radiator, is going to be on that cross member right there, which is purposely put between the axle and the steering support. So when you're laying out the front end of your car, the way I do it, I can't remember if I figured this out or I watched it on Dennis or Steve or somebody else's videos, but the axle center line, I put my cross member just behind that, and then my steering support behind that, so that there's room in there for the front end support, the front body support. And then when that one ends, you actually have the steering arm coming out of the body behind the grill. Now, that's also contingent or dependent on the caricature car. And this particular car, the inspiration car, did have, that's the way it was. So, which I don't have a picture here to show you, but that's the way it was. So, with cyclekarting, it's real important to really get the front end right by way, or right according to the inspiration car. For one, you want it to look right, but for two, it actually works. It'll actually end up working. I don't know what it is. If it's a quarter elliptical front end or a transverse or these parallel, if you get it right by according to the inspiration car, I don't know what it is. Magic happens. It'll daggone work right. It's crazy as heck, but it will work. And I've seen over 50 cyclekarts, and everybody that's done it the way their inspiration car worked, man, it just worked like gangbusters. So don't overthink it. Look at the inspiration car. Study it, get pictures, look at it. Don't try to be smarter than the people that built it, 100 plus years ago. Do it the way they did it. It'll work great. I know I would never done a shackle like this, weirdly like this, and this horn coming up. Who would think to do it like that? But, you know, it's the way Stutz did it when he worked for American, and it worked for him back then. So we're going to give it a go. Okay, chassis black on this one. Doing a longer segment right here because I know I skipped some steps when we get into here. Chassis black. Oh, yeah, look what Randy sent me. Randy Wright, unsolicited from Texas. He just sent this to me. I sent him pictures of my engine I was putting in it, and he powder coated these parts. And look how good that looks. Holy cow. Thank you, Randy. Randy, this is jewelry. This is engine jewelry. And I'm glad it did look good. I'm sure it's fine. That's why you powder coat them, right? You powder coat them because it holds up real good. So this is going on the motor. Those are my motor jewelry parts. And this car is going to be chassis black. Most of it's going to be black. There'll be a little bit of aluminum. I've got to cover that up. I don't like that. It's what I could get from Home Depot for when I was doing the floor. So I'm going to have to cover that with something because it doesn't look period right. Chassis black, dark blood red for the body panels, and then as much brass as I can figure out because there was a lot of brass on the Inspiration car, on the original car. A lot of brass, so I got to figure that out. I got a brass horn, and I don't know. I got to figure out some more brass pieces. And then again, this is an Edwardian, so we're getting the 18-inch tires, which you can see I really boogered up right there trying to get rubber put on them. Those suck for putting rubber on. So 2 of them I pinch flatted. They're still leaking down. Hold air for a little bit. I'm not looking forward to redoing that. And then Edwardian, you know, officially. You know, I don't plan to release this video till after I get the car built. So when people see the car, they're going to go back and watch the video and go, oh yeah, that jackass. So Edwardian, the bottom of the seat is supposed to be 4 inches above the axle. That's what they want. They want the bottom of the seat 4 inches above the axle. And it does have a cool look. It absolutely has a cool look. Live in my neighborhood here. You know, if you look, but my favorite Edwardian, there's a bunch of them I like, but I really like Steve Vinson's Franklin. Man, that thing looks cool as hell. Really looks good. And, you know, and I love the look of a cycle cart, right? I genuinely like the art look. And appreciate the, you know, it being a rolling piece of art. Because it's form over function, right? It's definitely more art than anything else. You don't build these to perform. If you build this to perform, you're really doing it kind of wrong. Because these things don't perform very well. So if you're looking at, you know what, you look at these like, I want to build one that's fast. No, you're really missing the point if you're building it to be fast and cornering. But that said, I don't want to be sitting 4 inches above the seat and trying to drive the thing. I don't have anywhere where I could drive it and just put around at parade speeds, which if you put the seat up high, that's really all you can do. You're just doing parade laps. You can't go fast at all, not safely. Relatively speaking, these things aren't super fast, but you can get fast enough where they can hurt somebody. This one's not going to be very quick, simply because it's so big and so heavy. This one's probably going to be, you know, working on a 300-pounder. I'm going to do my best to try to get under 300 pounds, but it's a 72-inch wheelbase. It's got those big 18-inch wheels, which are heavy. I'm not skimping on steel. So it's not going to be that fast. You know, my Blitz and Benz is 273 pounds or something like that. I can't remember. So it's not super, it's lighter than most. I used copious amounts of aluminum in it. And then my Austin 7 POS, Post Office Special, I haven't even weighed it yet, but my guesstimation's around 230 pounds. Maybe a tick over. Okay, a lot of numbing. Let's pause this and continue to work. Jumping in at making my front end support, grill, piece, all that. So first thing, all right, so I kind of got to understand what my basic shape is. Again, my pictures are all on my phone. I didn't print any for this one, so I can't show you a picture what the front looks like, but I know what the front looks like. So I got this bar, and that bar to kind of get the overall profile. The sag, and it actually has to come up a little bit. Figured out. So I got my measurements. I figured out what my measurements needed to be, and they're kind of, the frame rails are 18 inches apart. My front end, I don't want to call it the radiator because the radiator cover is going to go on this is actually the support I'm making. It needs to be 15 inches wide, centered on that 18 inch chassis width, 22 inches high, and then 12 inches across at the top. That's what I kind of figured out loosely what it kind of needs to be. So I transferred it to a piece of paper. I made a piece of paper, got to put it in there back and forth. Got that as best I could, and I transferred that over here to this MDF. So let's cut this MDF. Okay, cut it quickly. I just jammed it in there. See if we got the profile right. So profile pleases me, pleases my eye line. It should be just nicely going down, almost flat, but not quite. And then on my sides, it's got to clear that post right there, which it just barely does. Just nicely. Just barely. Right there. We're right there at it. Maybe it needs to come a smidge that way. All right, now we need to radius the corners there and look at it a little bit more. Wow. So getting the top of this right to match the inspiration car, I spent more time on this than I did cutting out the whole piece. So attention to detail, attention to detail, attention to detail. So I'm flipping back and forth between pictures on my phone and looking at the front and looking at images I saved and sketches I made on the computer, which I didn't print. And I looked at, so I got the basic shape right when I, the mess I just showed you. Okay, so I got that right, but then I didn't get this right. The Speedster was flat up there, kept a radius curve there, and it came forward, but the grill was definitely had a peak there, so it wasn't flat. It wasn't Frankenstein head flat. And the buck, so I'm going to use the buck as a guide to bend my support that I'm going to do. So you may think, well, this MDF, I just have to get it close, I can bend it, whatever. Now you really want this MDF to be about perfect. You want to get this buck that you make, this guide, to be about as perfect as you can get. Because if you can get this right, then when you go to start bending metal, it'll make sense. You get it right to this, it'll be right. And the metal will still bend this way and that way once you get the shape. It'll want to go there and there, and you just got to move around it. You got to play with it to get it right, and you're going to do some bracing and whatnot. It'll stiffen up once you get the sheet metal riveted to it. But the metal is loosey-goosey. It's all over the place. You really need to get this right. Spend your time, get this right. So I got that curve there. You can see some of the lines I did that I ended up not using. And then I can still feel some imperfections. I used the bandsaw, my little crappy bandsaw behind me. But I'm pretty pleased with that. Now, once I get it bent, and I have the metal there, you can bend the metal up or down a little bit, and you can still modify it a little bit, but we're going to go with that. All right, if you cut your buck, get it right perfectly, use steel. If you use steel, the spring back isn't quite so bad as it is on aluminum, but I want to use aluminum because I want it to be light, and I want to use rivets, and aluminum's pretty forgivable where I found for working like that. I put a witness mark in the center of this piece, which is, I've trimmed it now, but I had it longer than it needed to be. Center mark of that, and literally start bending around my knee, and you get it about right. And spring back's killing me a little bit for holding on there, but And then, you know, you flip it back and forth and put it on both ways and take it off, put it down, take it off, put it down, take it off, put it down, take it down, put it, a whole bunch of that. I didn't look at the clock, but definitely got some time on it. So we'll get it like there. Now, the piece will want to bend, you know, it'll want to do like that on you, and it'll want to do like that on you. So what I do is I'll have a piece of angle down here, which is stuck to this cross member and up onto there to hold on both those sides. That'll hold the base. And then I'll have a strap coming from that cross member to here, and then a strap coming down there. And that will center this, and I'll just rivet it. And then when I go back and do the side panels and the hood, I'll maybe undo those rivets, and maybe I'll put another rivet back through all three pieces. I don't know, whatever. I've done stuff like that. I'm trying to remember how I did the blitz and bends, and that's kind of what I did there. So now you start to get the shape. Also, if you aren't sure of the shape that you want, don't do any of these in metal. Just do the MDF over there. Do that MDF. Maybe do one of those, but definitely do that one. Do your front one. In fact, I should have done that one when I did this one. I skipped that step, but do both of those. Put the MDF up, and then you can run tape and put paper. I like that packing paper. Use poster board and tape it down and get your shape. Make sure that it looks right, because you definitely want it to look right before you start putting these. Before you start doing these metal pieces. I mean, you can redo these too, but super pain in the ass. You'd rather not. All right, I gotta shut down the shop, and hopefully I come and do a little bit more video before I do like the last one where I skipped like 4 months. But the next piece I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get that front hoop put in, riveted, locked in place, so it's ready to go. So we can start looking at possibly doing body panels. I might skip doing body panels. I'll skip it, but hold on doing body panels for now, and then do the engine, because I have not done the engine at all back here. I haven't done anything for it. So I still got to figure out where I'm going to put it and put my cross members and all that stuff. All right, hold for now. All right, front of the buck for the front grille. And it came out all right. We have it in. I made some L brackets, which you really can't see in there. Thin, what's 085 wall stuff. I actually cut a 1x3 to make long leg brackets. God, you can't see anything other than my booger welds. And then rivet the aluminum. It's painted black, so you kind of can't see it. And then a flat bar rivet down the center. Boom. And that's riveted in a couple spots there. Those rivets will actually end up coming out, because when you put the aluminum, when I put the aluminum down, I'll go through the aluminum and pinch all that together with rivets. And then there'll be a center piece right here I do. Or maybe I'll do this in one piece. I don't know. It's really hard to do this whole piece in one piece. It's really, really difficult. If you do it in 3 pieces, it comes out a little bit easier. Side pieces right here are pretty easy. You gotta make some clearances for the steering linkage, and then I gotta make a clearance for this steering support I made. In hindsight, I should have made the steering support come low and this way and then up, or angled up, because my sheet metal is going to come in here. My sheet metal is going to come right through here. You can see that's the side of the grill. So my sheet metal is going to just barely clear this stanchion right here. But it'll be all right. Anyways, those are the pieces. Next piece I'm going to do here, I could start doing sheet metal, but I got one more side piece I got to do that's going to come from here, the inspiration car. If I flash into a picture, it looks like this. So the side's going to come down and back and maybe come up, that little whoopy up. And I started to do one piece, but and I was going to do it just come down like that, which it might be okay like that, but I I think it would look aesthetically better if it comes back all the way to here. Or maybe even come up a little bit. Or maybe come up to here. Maybe I have a post right here and then I cover all that with something. Maybe I do that, but I kind of don't want to cover all that because I want airflow over the motor. I'm learning that if you box the motor in, it definitely will contribute to it overheating. So I haven't really made up my mind on the back there. I know the top of it is going to have like a bucket, or not a bucket, but like a fuel can, but it's going to be a fake fuel can I'm going to make. And I got to look at Steve Vinson, because I think Steve and his Franklin, he made which I looked at the Franklin in person. I didn't study his fuel can arrangement. I got to go back and look at his videos. I think he made it a FAW fuel can that really looks right, but I think it just works as a cover over everything back there. I think that's pretty good. All right, let's continue movement. Oakley damn Dokley. So we got the back end look I was going for. I don't even know where I left off. Where I left off with the last one. But it's all right. So we got, I know we talked about that being in there and that being that way. So I zipped this bar in all the way around, lots of heat. I had that thing in, and then I made a plate that, this plate right here, that goes on around, and then I seamed it all on kind of like a fish plate. And then the back of it, you know, again, paying homage to the Inspiration car, and it kind of has a fast look when it kind of comes back. Both of them kind of come back, they sweep, but then they come in at an angle, and then they kind of follow that curve as well. And I just cut out a tier piece, which you can see, there's one right there. So I just cut out this like scallop, sorry. Probably not that, that probably isn't the one I did, but I don't know, maybe it was. Cut that out, and then the top stays on, you bang it around. And one's just further inwards than the other one. And I kind of give it that. And I was going to just clean it up and just paint it black. And deal with like making it look pretty later. I think what I'm going to do is, because this is going to be exposed, the engine's kind of be exposed a little bit on this one. Just because of the way the design is. There's going to be a cover that goes on over here, but the engine's going to be exposed. This is going to be exposed. And I wish I'd have done a better job of that thing. That stanchion right there looks like hell. So I'm not decided exactly how I'm going to do with that. I may knock that off and completely redo it because I'm really not happy with the look. But let me focus on one thing at a time. So this, I'm going to smear some body filler on. I'm going to grind it a little bit better too, knock some of those big welds down. And if I get down where I see like I didn't get any penetration, I'll go back in there and give it some heat again. But it looks like I'm getting marginally better with my welding. I'm obviously not a professional welder, but it's getting a little bit better. I'm not blowing holes and stuff and quite like I used to, but I still like to put a lot of heat into things. So anyways, I'm going to grind a little bit more, clean this up, and try to make it look quote-unquote pretty. Let's have a go. Alright, we smeared some body filler, did some grinding. I didn't have to go back and weld anymore. You can't really see in the dark. Well, not the dark, but the shadows. Lighting is poor. And I just spray painted it, threw some paint on it. So, it looks alright. Doesn't look perfect. I'm a little hesitant. It's not as pronounced as I thought it would be, but it's alright. It's definitely good. It's a lot of work and effort you might not even notice it when it's all said and done. And I still hate the stanchions that those are on, so, but that's alright. So while I was waiting for body filler to set, I did these brackets right here. The way I do my body panels, it's just going to be sheet aluminum. 050 is kind of the standard everybody kind of uses. You could use 034, but it's just a little thin and wibbly wobbly. it won't hold any. 050 is kind of the way to go, and it's real common and easy to get. And I don't know if it's, I think it's 5032 or 5035, or I'm guessing, I don't know aluminum. Whatever it is, I just get the cheap stuff because I'm not welding it. I'm just cutting templates out of it and then riveting it on. So anyways, put this angle on here. This is aluminum angle. Just rivet it down. Sorry, yeah, blind rivet, pop rivet it down. It's got to follow the body line because that's going to be, you know, the aluminum panel that I put on here will you know, rivet all the way around there. Obviously, if you don't do something on the bottom right here, the panel will be really, really loose. So I think I'm going to do one across right here also, and then I'm going to see if I can get away with doing this and this in one piece. If I could do that in one piece, I think that's the way I'll go. And I'll still run a seam of rivets that way. The previous cars I've done this in a piece, that in a piece, and then this in a piece, and it's problematic getting your seams all right. It's really, really difficult getting your seams to get right and look right and get your rivets, the spacing correct and all this, that, and the other. So we're going to try to do one piece right here, come up to below this bend, and then I'll leave space. I'll leave some space here. I used a 2-inch wide, really thick piece of aluminum right here. This is wide on purpose so I can have a space for a seam, and then I'll have one piece will be right here, one big rectangle, and then the hood will be one piece. I don't know if I'll hinge the hood. The hood may be one piece. The inspiration car, it's kind of hard to see. I can't see exactly what's going on. They often were hinged on the top. The inspiration car did not have any straps that went over it. It was not strapped down. Did have some holes punched in the side right here that were kind of odd. I think they were intake holes. I'm not sure, but we'll work on that. Okay, paint's drying. Let's do a couple panel pieces. What I'd like to get done today, before tonight, is these panel pieces and these top pieces on both sides, so that I have some rigidity. It's pretty rigid, but it's hard. I can't show you on camera, but there's a little bit of side-to-side play, and I know once I get these side pieces and these top pieces put on there, that will tighten that up really, really good. And then when I go to do things like I'm going to have to get it up, put it on its side, go underneath it and do some work, that being on there to hold it tight will help keep things square and keep it from moving around. All right, so get to work. Second piece of paper. First piece of paper I didn't like for a template. Love this packing paper. I'm a big fan of it. So I got it about where I wanted it. My plan is I'm going to beat it. It's aluminum. I'm going to knock it over this bar right here. And then I got a piece of trim, rubber trim I got. It's 1/2 inch to go over that whole thing. So I made it a little bit bigger than that. I want my flat edge, straight edge down there. The factory cut on this sheet of aluminum is always better than I can cut it. And I want my factory cut of aluminum there. A little bit longer there. I might have to trim that back. And then I wanted this below the curve of that and put a seam in there. So then I'll take this, which I've put it back on here just to show you this, and put it on my aluminum. And then I cut it out with my Harbor Freight cheapos right there. I cut it really big, much bigger, and can't do it with one hand. Hang on. There we go. So factory edge, factory cut, not factory cut, but the machine shop cut edge there. Flat edge on the bottom. I just got it clamped in place. You'll see I got a lot of extra meat on it, but that's about where I want that to be. I've got a crimper that will put a little bit of a crimpy, ugly edge on it actually. And then I'll leave extra here, this bit, again to beat it around. And then looking at it, what do I need to do before I get done? Not a lot. There's not a lot of shaping that needs to be done here. In fact, the only shaping really that's going to happen here is where it narrows from here in. And it's going to be a nice, should be a nice gentle curve. And I've found, even with more curve than this, as you rivet it in, if you rivet in like the top of your curve, and then move the sheet metal around, the aluminum around as you rivet it in, and you go no more than 1 inch, like I like 3/4 of an inch spacing, it will pull the aluminum into the shape of the panel without having to use your English wheel, if you don't have an English wheel. I actually have an English wheel that I got from Rick Eggers, but I don't have a lot of space in my shop, so Rick's probably suffers from the same thing I do. No shop space-itis. So it's hard to set some equipment up. But let's go ahead and rivet this thing and see what it looks like. We'll practice what I preach here. This was my high spot. I determined that this bar right here is where it's going to be. It's going to bend this way and this way. So I want it to bend around this bar. So I clamped it in place as best I could. Eyeballed it this way, that way, got it where I liked it. And then where do you find this bar? On the inside. So I did 2 starter rivets down there. Drilled the holes from the back end, and then I put the rivets in. That helped me locate my marking tape. And then I marked 1.5 inches. That one I screwed up. 1.5 inches. So that's going to be my pattern, and then I'll try to replicate that on the other side as well. All right, I just pulled the tape off. The 2 starter rivets, I drilled them out. So we pull this off, and you'll see all the mess on there. We're going to clean all that up. Looks like I ran into the edge of that piece of flat stock right there, and I broke the drill bit off. So I got to figure out what I'm doing with that. I'll probably drill it out. So I already ruined 1 drill bit. I just started those 2, so I'll finish those out. If you really want your job to be clean, look clean, you go back and deburr all the holes. If you got a deburring tool, which I do not have, I just use a uni bit and just kind of bevel the hole just to deburr them. But that's pre-drilled for it. Okay, let's clean this up. So that's what it looks like. A couple of mistakes I made. I drilled into, I guess, weld or something. Broke a drill bit off in there and boogered up a couple drill bits trying to get in there, trying to clean that out. It happens. So if you're drilling into slag or weld or something, just be mindful of that. Everything else came out pretty good. Got my spacing. Ended up going with 1 inch here and then 1.5 inches, but it's offset there, so it actually ends up being 1/4 inch between those guys. This piece is the dash was going to come in here and cover this up, so that'll do that. When I was beating on this, I hit my fancy brass switch. So I got to get another one of those. Broke it. The only real bend it got was right here. The crease was right there, and I did, I pulled it around here, worked it up, and then just pushed it by hand to get in, and it got a little bit of a body line there. Looks pretty good from a distance. It's looking like I want it to look. One thing I didn't do that you can do is you tape the whole body up in paper. Tape the entire damn thing in paper to get a look at what you want. That's actually what you should do. It's what I should have done, because I don't know what I don't know. I may run into a problem because I didn't do that. But I've done this before, so you know how it is. You want to skip steps, so I definitely skipped a step. Another thing that I could have done, I didn't think about it till after I got most of these rivets in, is once you get this piece kind of like you like it, before you start riveting it, you could go around to the other side with it and see if it marries up, and if it's the same. If the same piece of metal could be used on the other side, you've done a good job of keeping things symmetrical. The blitz and bends, I was very meticulous on my measurements on it, and I was able to do that. So when I'd cut one piece, it would work either side. So I would cut it exactly. I'd have two exact pieces, this side and that side. And it just kept things symmetrical and good. But I also did this a piece, this a piece. I didn't do these two in one. Not that it matters. Okay, I'm gonna take a break because I've been working on this for quite a while. There's over 100 rivets here. It's just meticulous, tiresome work. Oh, here's another thing too. If you don't have a lift, put that joker on sawhorses so you don't have to bend over. I'm not really having to bend over here, but I am a little bit. It's already hurting my back. Just a little bit I'm bending over, so get it up high for sure. All right, I'm gonna go take a break and we're gonna do that one. And then we'll see how much energy I got left if we could do the top. I may have been a bit ambitious thinking I'd get this all done today. This part never gets any easier. Well, this is 2 days of work. Well, I thought I was going to get finished yesterday. I just got one of these in yesterday. I did, instead of doing these in 2 panels like I did in my previous ones, I did this in 1 panel. Just a little bit more challenging to get the size right and everything. And then I wanted to do this in 1. But this piece stretches and grows as you bend it around. So the easy way is just to do it in 2 pieces and then do a center piece up here. I think that kind of makes it stronger anyways. And it don't look bad either. I tried to do what I could for marking with the marker to get my spacing on my rivets all right as best I could. So there's some uniformity going on. And then this is the 4th dash I made. Well, more than 4 because I made had some failures in the past. But this one was one and done. And I didn't want it to look too pretty. I wanted it to look old and kind of beat on. So which I probably couldn't make it look pretty if I wanted to. But that's what I came up with. She don't look bad. A couple things checked off. And I did it again in that I failed the video. And I failed to remember where I left off in the last video. But we got an axle in there. We got the tires on there. We got the engine mounted. I'm about to try to... I did test bench fire, so it does fire. But I haven't fired it up sitting on here yet. Brand new chain. That chain will stretch. That's not the axle I'm even going to use. So that axle's got to be swapped. This is too narrow. The track is too narrow. These hubs that Mark Parnell made, it really set them really far in. No fault of his or anything like that. It's just the way the design is. So the neck of the step down shoulder of this axle is just right there. So this tire setup goes really, really narrow. Okay. I pulled the safety pin. Let's do this. Don't hit my foot. I strap. This is how I test fire on the bench here, or on the table. So I ratchet the frame down really, really straight. You could do it twice. Could do it in the back as well, but I'm not fussed. It's pretty sturdy. So the goal here is I'm going to fire it, jump in it, hopefully it runs, jump in it, and then I'm going to do a brake check, throttle and brake check. So a bad switch here, so I had to, off is up, on is down. I got to fix that. We got gas. Let's see what happens. Alright, I don't like spinny things being exposed, so we're going to cover mess up here, so in case we sling a chain or something comes loose, it's not a projectile completely hitting the driver here. So the idea is, like the Inspiration car, it has a gas tank here, but I'm going to make it a fake gas tank. It's going to be just a cover. And I don't know exactly. It's got a... I don't know how the middle shape will be entirely, but it'll be a shape. But on the sides, it's going to have the shape of the original gas tank. So take you through evolution of making the start here. Of course, I started in cardboard, paper, and then cardboard, which I've already thrown away. And I made that one, didn't like it. It wasn't tall enough. Shape was wrong. Slip back didn't work for me. Let's say, okay, so let's make it look like the gas tank itself. And I got one exactly right. So ended up drawing that out nice and neat, radius in my corners, and made this one. And it's actually two of them, so I can make the sheet metal ends. And then I goofed around with some aluminum flat bar. There's a 1-inch. Here goes a 2. This one's stout, so the 2, this one will actually go over the chain. So this will be the chain guard. It'll go underneath. You won't see it. And then, so I made one end, but I didn't like the 3 holes. So I was like, well, it's got to come over here anyways. And maybe later on I'll make a cover that covers this piece so you don't see this ugly axle bearing coming up through there. So we'll see. We'll see if I can do it without these 3 holes in the next one. This one's just a starter too. I'll end up throwing that one away. And if it came out a little bit further, maybe I could just punch a hole in it, and it just goes over there. But the problem then is taking it on and off, because the idea is to rivet this thing all together, and once it's, and then the whole thing will come on and off like this. If I rivet it all together, that might be problematic, but I don't know. Learning by doing, you know. I might try to do something different. I'm still thinking out loud. But right now I'm going to go ahead and go do 2 more of these without those 3 holes. And you know what? I might punch a hole in there. Fuck it. No, I can't do that. I can't do that. It's got to be able to come on and off this way and that way. You like how I taped my sleeve on there? It's supposed to have Velcro, but the Velcro ruined. Velcro ripped off on that keeper, so just tape it on. Hokey, but it works. Just like all the junk I build. Except for the junk I build doesn't always work. Well, it's my first time doing something like this. I use those end pieces. This one was way thinner than that one, and the thinner stuff was easier to work with, but it wasn't as nice to rivet. And then this is pretty thin. This is Home Depot 019. Yeah, 019. It's super thin stuff. Looks like a 6, but it's 019. Very, very thin. And again, this is no structure. This is just a cover. It's going to dent real easy. What? In hindsight, this should have been sunk in a little bit better so you could beat that edge over. I did a really bad job. Some of the edge got knocked over. I think it looks a little bit better on this side. Yeah, it looks better on that side. Yeah, if I polish it up and from a distance, hopefully it won't look so bad. Alright, now the difficult part. A lot of it has to be cut away because it won't fit over the engine entirely. It's got to, just in case the axle and sprocket, and then the back of it's going to have a recess cut in it for the motor to kind of slip over the motor. Alright, let me work on that. Well, it was pretty until I cut all that out of it. It needed a lot cut for get this first fit up, but it's on there. I'm gonna have to add a piece because the seat just wouldn't fit in there, so I'm gonna have to add a piece in there, a kind of shield back there to, or maybe not. I don't know. I got that thick bar over there. It's gonna cover the chain anyway, so to be determined. But this is initial fit up. I got more to cut there to clear the torque converter and the belt. But it's on. What's it look like? Get a look. I like it. A fake gas tank chain or axle chain brake cover to make it look like a gas tank, kind of. All right, super quick update. Just did the axle, replaced that. I'm sure I did other things since last time I did a video on this, but that's okay. Probably getting tired of me saying that. I had a 40-inch. This has to be a 44. The way these hubs are, they set the wheel in. It's actually a little less than 40 right now, but I can pull these wheels out another half-inch, put a little spacer on the inside in there, and get them to 40. The front end actually is, I think it's 41. When I built it, I did it without the wheels, and I did it with the spacing on those spindles, thinking I was using the same math and distances for the 17-inch wheels, and 18-inch wheels are a little bit different. And these are the 18-inch wheels. This is the Edwardian Chinese, Taiwan, whatever they are, cast wheels. The Jitreville guys, for an Edwardian, they want it large by huge, 70+ inch wheelbase, they say. These 18-inch wheels, or any 18-inch wheel, 18 by 1.5 wide wheel. A 72-inch wheelbase is what I got here, and she's a big girl. But what I didn't do is I didn't do the seat up above the axle. The Inspiration car did have a high seat. The guy sat up on it, but he looked so small and cartoonish driving it. He looked like he was small in it. And if I put the seat up, you're sitting all up high. It's not going to give it that cartoonish look in this one. So the seat's down. Also, you could drive it more spirited without worried about flipping it over so bad or pitching the driver. But this thing's so tall and big that I can't see over the dash. I'm 5'5", pretty short. I can't see over the dash at all. It's kind of like when I was driving Cobus's Beast of Turin. It's also big like that. I got to look out the side. But that's cool. It's cartoonish. It's like, I'm like back in the day, like, sticking my head out, trying to, look around, seeing things. My big friends, they'll drive it. They'll be fine. They'll be perfectly fine. Grill shell. I use the MDF trick I talked about earlier. Make your template in 3/4 MDF. Do that for your dash hoop, and that way make your mold or make your MDF template out of that. And then you could bend the metal to it, get it right. You can do the dash hoop and then the front cowl hoop. Then I made a different one for this front grill. This piece. And then looking at it, what am I gonna do for a grill? I was thinking about fiberglass in it, but then you know what? I said, let me see what this looks like with a piece of 2-inch. So this is 2-inch by 1/8 aluminum flat stock. I painstakingly bent it and get it. It's a super pain in the ass bending this in the vise to make it look smooth and right. Probably spent an hour and a half just bending on this thing. Oh, easily hour and a half. I might have spent longer than that. Some riv nuts, pardon me. Let's see, riv nuts down in there. You can't see that one because I got a clamp. I got a riv nut in there. So it'll screw in there, and there. That will actually be the radiator cap. We'll screw that one down. Don't know how to do the insert yet. I'm still weighing ideas on doing the insert. I might do a piece of angle aluminum in here and rivet it to this hoop. But I want to keep this. As smooth and clean as I can. And then I'm gonna paint it brass to give it that brass look. And the color, actually I just practiced with the brass, some brass paint right there, Rust-Oleum metallic. It doesn't look bad. It almost looks like goldish. I think it's gonna work all right. Yeah, it's not perfect. Polished brass. You could polish it and you could look like a mirror. That's not gonna do that. But then it's gonna look like brass. And this is. I wanted a blood red, and this isn't exactly a blood red, but you can see my reflection in it, kind of. This is colonial red. When I saw colonial red, I saw the color of the cap. I was like, man, that is pretty cool. So I think I'm gonna like it. So black and red and brass is kind of the color motif. Yeah, I think I like it. All right. All right. What's next? I got to put the front back on. No, I got to finish the grill and then the hood. Grill and then the hood. Then I can do the insert. Maybe I'll do the hood and then the grill. I don't know. We'll see. We're making progress. Saturday morning. I got my overalls on. Cup of coffee. I'm looking at my camera. Head into the shop. That light. God damn, what a mess. Clean up at some point. Oh, packing paper trick. This brown paper bag, packing material. Whacked a piece off, about the right size for my hood, I think. So we're gonna get the trimming. Initial trim done. I went around both sides and all three sides rather. Used the flat edge up against up here. Skip video on that, but there's a little. I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you in a bit. You'll see it in a bit. But a little catch to catch sheet metal. I have a very hard time doing this in one piece. A couple of hoods I did previously, I did them two pieces. I split down the middle and used a hinge, and I found that to be actually easier to do. Getting these curves, because it's a little bit of compound. Looks like it's not compound, but it is kind of compound. Hopefully the English wheel helps out on that. But getting them exactly right, both of them symmetrical, is a total chore for a novice metal shaper. And novice is putting it mildly. That's giving me credit that I don't have. A challenged metal shaper. So anyways, getting ahead of myself. I want to get a template so I can cut sheet metal. I'm using 040 aluminum. Perfect. That's perfect. 050 is heavier. 060 is really heavy. Sturdy. If you're worried about it having any body, that's what you go with, I think. But a little on the flimsy side, 040. A little on the flimsy side, but I like it. Easy to work with. Anything under that, really dense, really easy, by the way. So, anyways, shaping. So I'm going to take my magic marker. I'm going to marker on the inside, and then I'm going to make sure I leave, when I transfer it to metal, I'm going to make sure I leave like 1.5 inches or 2 inches on the outside of that. Let's marker that up, though. Quick marker job. Quick one. Couple times, do it a little bit, a couple bit on there. Do it a couple times, did it mark pretty good. Feels about right. We have the template. I'll transfer it to some sheet metal. Nothing but the best. Harbor Freight, Chicago Electric. So, what I did was I gave myself 1.5 inches or so of extra around this, around my template. I just used the masking tape. The template I marked on the metal. And, you know, there's a ball side and then a mill side, I guess, or probably said it incorrectly, but there's two different surfaces usually on this sheet metal. Either on purpose or an accident, but you figure out which side you want to do the outside. I'm painting this car, so I don't really care, but if you're gonna polish the hood, just take that into account, obviously. So now comes the hard part. I'm gonna mark my lines on this, or do some mock-up, and then we're gonna mark lines on it where I think the curves need to go, and then maybe I'll bend it over my knee, or maybe we'll break out the English wheel. Let's see. All right, I'm not gonna video this, unfortunately. I'm going to just work, then I'll see if what kind of a product I get, and we'll talk about it at the end. YouTuber extraordinaire, I am not. So I marked a reference point for the center of the cow, marked a reference point on the hood there. I've got the center up here where that goes, center there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a marker. I'm going to mark some lines where this curve needs to be. The center of the curve will be the longest line, and then the lines will get shorter. And I'll do them here and then back there. So I have a straight line, so I know theoretically where my curve needs to be. And in the past, I've done this over my knee. This time we're going to give this little mini wheel a go. And if I can't figure it out with that, I've got the big wheel I got from Rick Eggers in that big box over there that weighs a ton. I don't really have room to set it up in here, but I wanted this to work right, so we'll set that up out in the driveway if we need to, and then we'll do something. But we're gonna spend some day working on the sheet metal. We're gonna see what we can do with this hood. Let's have a go. Holy mother of God! What a pain in the ass. UPS guy dropped a Speedway seat. Put it in my seat cover. He dropped it in the seat air for me. Just open it up. Pardon, see what it was. All right. So this thing works pretty good. I'm an idiot and a novice, newbie. So I've only used that thing a little bit so far. I got two other pieces, like a third or maybe the fourth piece I've had in that English wheel. And it ain't terrible. We're obviously got more work to do, but it's not terrible. I just spent the better part of an hour working the fit up here. So a hole centered, I got to figure out rib nut or something in there. And then working this seam with a grinder and a file. Get that fit up as best as I can. I like tight gaps if I can get them. It's not going to be that tight. Oop. But it'll be okay. More work to do. It's a little less than 1/8 of an inch there. I got a little bit more file work to do and get that clean, and then we'll put this back in the wheel. It's coming along. All right, we're going to do a little walk around of this 1910 American Underslung Speedster. I'm hoping that this is my last set of images and video of this thing before I paint it, because right now, as I'm doing this, front suspension, the underslung front suspension, as I'm talking and umming to the camera, I believe I've completed everything, the major parts. All the major parts are now finished. It's almost like I'm asking myself that question. So this is an American Underslung Speedster. American Stutz work for them. Their primary engineer. They were notable because they were very expensive. They were the first American big block sports car. They had a giant motor in them. And the Speedster, which is the one I'm making here, was America's first purpose-built hot rod, if you will. Let's have a look at a picture or two. In order to get that look right, you got to put the art in Cyclekart. These are art projects. Make no mistake. It's definitely an art project. I did many different versions of just this little grill insert. Just trying to get this right, to get that look right. And man, this thing was tedious. The hood took half as much time as this effing grill insert right here. Let's do a little assembly here. Boom. All right. Hood goes on pretty easy. I make my hood fit between the frame or that top hoop and whatever my grill support is, or the outside of the shell of my grill. In this particular one, I used a 2-inch wide aluminum flat stock. And then you saw the grill insert, it just slips in there. This bolt goes through all 3 pieces. It goes through this, it goes through the hood, and it goes through the edge of that grill insert, so it locates all that, holds that all in tight. And then I got some fasteners down there, and for fasteners I got brass flat tips. Try to look period correct. It was a brass era car, so we're going to try to do the brass stuff. All right, there's a minute. Let's see if the next video I have is it sitting on its wheels and painted. And back apart, obviously, with paint on it. Let's see what we look at here. It's a little pink. There's reflection in it, so that's good. I put some, so it's cranberry. It's Rust-Oleum cranberry, dark red. I did a, was that or a colonial red. So I did this side with colonial red, numbered it, did that one with cranberry, numbered it, and then I had the wife and kids all take it one by one, tell me which they preferred, and they all preferred the cranberry, which I wanted it blood red. So hopefully that's what it ends up being, but you can see we got, definitely doesn't look the same here. So it could be because it's wet. It's got some dust on it, I don't know. But that looks more like this right now. Well, it's still not the, looks lighter. It's like it's got pink to it. I don't like the pink. I don't know what that's about. No, it's actually kind of looking the same, actually. All right, it's just wet. It just hasn't got dry yet. All right, it's gonna be cranberry. So we got the hood. I did the grill and the gas tank, fog gas tank, in some crazy duplicolor yellow anodized. It's for chrome. It's for metalwork, chrome trim, and aluminum. It is definitely yellow anodized. It's not brass, but I think it looks good next to the red. Oh, I want that to come off. Hard to see there. We'll see. It's definitely an art project. All right, let's. What am I still thinking about? I'm thinking about before because it's such a pain in the ass to mock this up or tape it all off for paint. I added lacquer, but I'm out to the hood because the hood, tends to take a little bit of a beating. But I'm on the fence if I do the rest of the car in lacquer. That means I got to go get some more, but I also don't know what the finish is going to look like on it. So I'm okay with the hood being a slightly different finish than the car. I'm okay with that. If it's just if the gloss finish is a little different, but because if I got to do touch-ups, then the gloss is on there. That might make it different or difficult to do a touch-up. But I'm not sure. Not sure if you hear the doubt in my voice, because there's definitely doubt. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that. But some of these areas really look good. I don't know if we can see, but it's it definitely looks pretty decent. It's got the vibe that I wanted. I want that, definitely that pre-war, early America, industrial, you know, handmade look. I'm feeling pretty happy with it. And let's see what it looks like all put together. Here you go, folks. The 1910 American Underslung Speedster. Cyclekart version anyways. It's a big day. We're off the lift. We're out in the driveway. Still got some testing to do on it. American was a company that wanted to make vehicles that rivaled the opulence and extravagance of the European crowd of the day. I think they did a very, very good job, but it was very expensive. And World War I came along and kind of ruined things for them. But I really wanted to capture that Art Deco, that magnificent big presence. You know, Cyclekarts, you know, they're not meant to be super, super big all the time. They're kind of meant to be small and cute. Cuter is better on a Cyclekart, but had to do this justice. Had to do this American justice. So we're riding on 18 by 1.5 or 18 by 1.6 cast aluminum wheels, if I'm not mistaken. Forget the tire size. I'd have to look at it. I think it's a 2.75 or 2.50 by 18. So this is the exception wheel. Most Cyclekarts have a 17 by 1.6 or 17 by 1.5 CT90 wheel, Honda CT90 or clone wheel. That's the Cyclekart standard. This is my version of an Edwardian, so it's a little bit of an exception, but it was needed for this for the inspiration car. We've got the underslung chassis up front, of course. We've got the go-kart 1-inch live axle underneath the cover back there. I got a 72 or 72 tooth sprocket. I'm running a 35 pitch chain, Harbor Freight 212. The CT, sorry, not CT, the 30 series TAV. I did do a carburetor upgrade on it. I did a bolt on, what do you call it? That one's got a ignition upgrade on it. It's got a header pipe and 18-pound valve springs, and then an aluminum flywheel. Scoots pretty good like that. So we still need to get this fired up and do some testing on it, but I'm just super happy to have it outside of the garage, on the wheels, on its wheels, ready to rock and roll. Got 3 inches of ground clearance. It's a little on the low side, but it's going to be all right. It might high center somewhere here and there. 72-inch wheelbase, it might definitely high center. And my approach angle is not bad, but my departure angle is crap. So getting it loaded off in the on and off the trailer's going to be a chore. It already wants to hit back there in that piece of frame back there. I'm super happy with it. Can't wait to get it out, get tested, and see how it runs and drives.